cult leaders always want to control your underwear. Let's talk about that. I'm Daniela, scholar of cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership. And with cults and coercive leaders and toxic gurus, there's always a component of control of physical appearance. And that breaks down specifically into 4 parts. So we see them controlling hair, they would hate this, body size, body coverage, and underwear. So why underwear specifically? Well, first of all, it's the closest layer of clothing to your body. Historically has been not only a private subject, but a taboo subject. So by controlling your underwear, they are literally inserting themselves into your private life as extremely as they can. And I write about underwear control in my book, Uncultured, growing up in the Children of God sex cult, where we were not allowed, girls were not allowed to sleep with underwear. We'll get back to that later. And also, U.S. Army does underwear checks. We'll get back to that too. So they're literally inserting themselves into the most private parts of your life. And I will remind you, when we talk about underwear, we are also talking about bras, and we are also talking about things like pantyhose, which is a visible form of underwear. And also, as ever, when we talk about underwear, yes, Mormons, looking at you super hard. Okay, carrying on. So, cults, in addition to wanting to insert themselves into your most private parts, and most private topics, they also want to humiliate you, right? So getting into your head and denying you privacy of any kind and humiliating you are both very important pieces to cult control, or just extreme control, right? And again, we can think about military initial training, right? What do? Control your underwear, get in your head, to try to humiliate you. By controlling your underwear, that is a means of humiliating you. And it's often made to make the members feel dirty and gross and disgusting, right? So girl children in the Children of God weren't allowed to sleep with underwear because women are nasty and we need to air out. And making women feel disgusting is a big part of controlling women. Once again, Army basic training, a big component of it is making the women feel ugly and gross and fat and disgusting. Okay, carrying on. There's a sneaky part about underwear control, and where I think it leads us directly to opportunities for sexual assault. And of course, we know that rape and sexual assault are always about power and not about sex. Right? And so this is a part where the control leads you specifically into opportunities for exercising this kind of power, which is if you have a requirement, then you have an excuse to check. Let's break that down. First, I started thinking about this with pantyhose. A lot of different business places, a lot of groups, a lot of churches, U.S. Army for women in dress uniform require pantyhose. Girls at Hooters. And somebody made the comment that they were required to wear pantyhose even in slacks and shoes. And somebody said, how would you know? And I was like, yeah, that's interesting. Because in the Army, there's regulation underwear. But other than when you're in training or in like a specific school, nobody cares, right? Everyone wears their normal underwear in the Army, and people will say that I'm exaggerating when I talk about it. But having a regulation gives you the excuse to check. Like per regulation, women are supposed to be in sports bras in military uniform. So any predator at any point that is higher ranking than a woman in uniform could be like, hey, I want to see your bra. Right? Same's for underwear. It's supposed to be specific colors. Having the regulation gives you the excuse to inspect. And so coming all the way back around to the Children of God and the panty checks that creep everybody out, it gave them the excuse to inspect. And so all of a sudden, nobody is questioning why creepy old men looking right at you, Jeremy Spencer of Fleetwood Mac, are walking around inspecting 6-year-old girls to see whether they're wearing underwear. Unrelated 6-year-old girls. And that's exactly how you get from purity culture, which dress control almost always falls under some form of purity culture. You must do this in order to be more pure. And that is how you get it directly to pedophilia. So, hope you enjoyed this video about underwear, and hopefully the comments will lead to many, many more good examples of how underwear control leads to overall coercive control. It is simply one of the building blocks. Nope, knitting needle's not going to do it. I almost forgot a rather important piece, and this one, again, applies to both the military as well as the cults I grew up in and other types of controlling groups, is that if you can convince someone that your mission is so important that even what underwear they are wearing matters, then you can use that to drive them always towards the mission, and you use that to drive them into anything goes culture, ends justifies the means, us versus them, etc., etc., etc.